come out with faucets where no water comes out. You know, if you go and buy a home, and they know what I mean.
What's with you, man? Come on!
The showers, you stand under a shower and there's no water coming, and you're saying you end up standing there 5 times longer.
You shouldn't do drugs.
But they want that. They want the dishwashers to be changed. All of that is part of the agenda.
So in Ohio, you have a great company that came to me, a dishwasher company, one of the biggest and finest companies, but they were going out of business. They said, we're not allowed to use water.
They're pretty dumb sometimes.
No, we're going to take over Washington, D.C. We're going to federalize. We're going to have very powerful crime, and you're going to be proud of it.
Crazy shit that Trump says.
We got your back. The auto workers are going to support this guy.
The country was at a level that we had the best employment numbers in history. Everything was good, and this country was coming together.
Oh, look at that. You fell for that, too.
Sorry. No matter how many times I watch that, it's still funny. All right, so welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Jeremy. That's Mike. It's been a hell of a week. We're going to talk about quite a few things in this show. We got to talk about the Ukraine and what's going on with Ukraine and the effect of the lack of funding by the GOP is having. Their blockade of the Ukraine funding has serious real-life, worldwide consequences. We're also going to talk about the fact that the GOP is currently in a death spiral with their star witness, and the entire Biden impeachment thing was complete bullshit. Now James Comer and Jim Jordan, who paraded this all around like it was actual evidence, have to backtrack their information, backtrack their statements, and it's just utterly pathetic.
They're tripping over their tails.
They really are. Then we're going to talk about Trump, what he said about the black community, about the African-American community. Wow. I can't believe he said this. This was at a black, what was it? Black Conservative Federation conference is what it was called. Most of it was a room full of white people.
Yeah. well, as you'll get to hear from Trump himself, he was able to differentiate between the white and black people in the crowd.
Yeah, he could point. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so overtly racist. I can't even believe somebody said this out loud on an actual event. Well, now I can believe it these days. I mean, it's not actually, you see it way too often. We got some of Trump's town hall with Fox News, which was an utter shit show. And then if you watch the actual town hall, you can see Laura Ingraham looking at the camera like, God help me. Please, God help me.
She literally looks right at the camera like,
I mean, you heard he's talking about faucets and water pressure and appliances. He actually said to her, he went to an appliance manufacturer, a big one, came to him and said, sir. He always starts the stories off with sir.
Sir. And also, it's the biggest and best of anything.
It is one of the biggest companies. Sir, we're not allowed to use water. What part of America? All right, I know there's parts of America that still don't have internet, but are there parts of America that don't have freaking water?
Well, to be fair, there are parts of America that have poison water that no one's fixing. But
that's true.
There's no one telling any company whose existence is based on using water to wash dishes that they can't use water. No one's ever said that. That's not a thing.
All right, so we have clips from that. I got a clip from Carrie Lake just trying to be right up Trump's butthole, man. She loves that guy, and she's still even though her was she trying to be governor? Governor campaign failed. Now she's trying to be senator. Yeah. That's already failing, and she's already spent more money than she's got in. Now her last ditch hope is to try and be vice president.
Was she on Trump's short list? Because didn't they announce a short list?
They keep saying Tim Scott, but every time they're together, Trump just humiliates
but that's what he wants. See, if Trump is anything, he's smart enough to understand that you need jailbait. You need a patsy. I mean, he's not good enough to keep himself out of the limelight, but he's going to make Tim Scott into this little lapdog, which he's willingly participating in. And then if anything goes bad, he's going to be like,
that's right. Yeah, he's going to be that guy. But this, I hear people a lot complaining about how the Democrats pander to the black community. Are you kidding me? Tim Scott, gold sneakers, And then what he says at this conference, you got to be kidding me. That's pandering. Like he thinks putting out sneakers and going to this conference and saying what he said is going to get, and putting Tim Scott as his VP is going to get him all the black vote. It's
and then
utterly absurd.
They'll make Candace Owens the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, and he pretty much calls every black person a criminal.
Yep.
He says that's why I'll play the clip before I get into it too much. We are going to talk a little bit about Biden because Biden has canceled another, what's the total? I don't know. But anyway, he's up to like $138 billion in canceled student loans, which I think is fantastic because student loans cripple a lot of people after they get out of college. I mean, I know people that went to college that end up being car salesmen.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like not everybody goes to college these days and gets $100,000 a year job. A lot of people come out of college and start at like $17 to $20 an hour. That's just the reality we live in.
I'd love to see scholarships for trade schools. Like if someone can get a scholarship to go to do science, great. If someone can get a scholarship to do something that is fundamental to society and they want to do it, not everyone's going to go be a rocket scientist, but you know what? Everyone needs plumbers. Let's get people to go be plumbers. But
and call me a socialist, but I think that everybody that wants to learn more should be able to learn more, regardless.
That's how society builds itself.
Right. That's how you breed smarter people. You allow them
to
learn more. If they don't want to go to college, fine. But if they do, great. Here you go. Here's your options that you can.
But it's funny because if you give people the option to not necessarily go to traditional college, that will reduce the cost in general, but then more people can benefit from that money being given to them. It's not that complicated.
And there's enough money. I keep saying it. There's enough money in this country for the government to do more for its people. And
that's literally what taxes are for.
Right. Biden's doing that. He's doing that. He's starting to collect taxes from all these corporations, the 1%ers that don't pay their fair share. That is going to go a long way in the end.
Since they put money into the IRS to have more people going after rich assholes, I think they got the latest number was like 150 million in unpaid. That's like the smallest little bit that they're grifting and getting away with. And that was just with an initial push to get more people jobs and funding in the IRS to go after the rich people. Guess what? They didn't go after you. They didn't go after me. They didn't go after the small business. They went, who's stealing the money? The rich people. Let's go after them.
Exactly. And the GOP was complaining about this program, about how much it would cost to put 85,000 more IRS agents. The program is paying for itself already.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that they would have. But the only reason they would oppose this is because their donors are telling them, hey, look, this is going to hurt my bottom line.
And they don't want to get people knocking on their door. They don't want black SUVs pulling up in their houses.
Exactly. So, all right. Before we get into some of the fun stuff, we do have to talk about what's going on in Ukraine, because what is happening in our Congress is affecting very much so what's happening in Ukraine. They are running out of ammo. That's how bad it is.
Ammunition.
Yeah, let me play this first video here. I want you guys to get a feel. Like, I have two videos. The one is a little bit of war footage, and don't worry, it's not too great. It's not graphic like you would think, like a movie or something like that. It's just, I want people to kind of understand what soldiers on the ground are going through at this moment while we're speaking. So let me play this first video here.
We're now about to go and see a Ukrainian artillery position, and our military escort is complaining that normally with this artillery position they'd be able to use it to shell Avdiivka and hit the Russians who are there, but at the moment they can't because they haven't got any ammunition. They're saying that if they had that ammunition they wouldn't be in the position they're in now, which is having to decide which villages they're now going to have to let the Russians take control of beyond Avdiivka as they advance.
The biggest problem is we don't have enough of ammunition for it. I know that in some countries of the city there are thousands of missiles which we are very need, and I want to ask these countries to give it to us that we can fight from Russian aggression.
This is a stabilization point near the front line where injured soldiers are transferred by their comrades into waiting ambulances, who then take them off for proper medical care further down the road.
Now, see, that's just one instance in one position where they could be overrun at any moment. I mean, imagine sitting there and not having no ammunition, or having a limited amount of ammunition, and knowing there's Russian soldiers on the other side that can run you over at any moment.
They have an advantageous position. They're not even like on the run as far as them being out. There's not a strategy that they're losing to. They just can't shoot the other guy.
Right. And I mean, like I said,
the guns are there.
You can choose.
The guy was standing next to a missile battery and he can't use it.
Right. Could you imagine? And I don't think, and I honestly think, like, my personal opinion, and this is just an opinion, I think the GOP is not doing anything because they're afraid of Putin. If they go against Putin and somehow Trump wins, well, guess what? You know what I mean? It's very, very bad.
The stink of Russia is all over the Republican Party now.
It is.
Not just Trump. I mean, we're going to get to some things, I think, later. The whole Hunter Biden thing. There's not just a Russian stink to it. There's a dead Russian conspiracy corpse laying there. But now you're looking at the Republicans who, okay, they voted down the border bill because it also paid for Ukraine. Well, it also paid for Israel, who they're supporting. So pick one. Who you want to send bullets to? Well, it's very telling when a Republican Party headed by a Republican candidate mimics the exact propaganda of Vladimir Putin and a Tucker Carlson, by the way. Yeah. But they all seem to be in line, and who's losing out right now? Ukraine, because of freaking bullets. Well, guess what? They have nuclear power plants there that at some point Russia's going to go back to. Remember early in the war when Russia was firing on the nuclear power plant?
Oh yeah.
So
that could happen again, definitely.
Pick and choose your battles, I guess. But if you're not going to pick to defend the allies, which we have an actual treaty with, who defended us and came to give us help on 9/11, who are you serving?
Right. And I think people need to realize we have two governments working at the moment. We don't have, the government in the United States. We don't have that. We don't have cohesion whatsoever. We have the Democrats who are trying their best to make this country better for everyone.
And have done a remarkable amount.
Right. And they have the GOP who works for Donald Trump, who we know buddy with Putin, wants to be Putin's puppet. I mean, all these things come into play, and I think just Trump gives that speech about how if NATO doesn't pay, that Russia can attack anybody they want. He doesn't care. Then Navalny dies after Trump gives that speech. Okay, that initial one. Now you have no protest from the GOP. You have no protest about Putin from Trump. You have Trump comparing himself to Navalny, who was poisoned, murdered, unjustly imprisoned just for going against his political opponent. That's what Trump wants in the United States. Like, get it through your freaking heads. The guy's not joking when he says this stuff. This is really what he wants.
I think it's important that when the official report of Navalny's death was sudden death syndrome.
Yeah, okay.
Trump literally used that same term like the next day or so in one of his speeches or interviews or whatever you want to call it. He literally said, yeah, well, he died it was his sudden death. Like, he's literally just mimicking what a dictator is saying. And it's not just anybody. It's a dictator that he has relationships with. Okay. That, again, their sticky fingers are all over a major political party who is continuing a coup against this country, which you will see due to Russian help involving the Hunter Biden case. It's all connected. It's not a conspiracy, okay? A conspiracy is what the right says when they think lizard people and James Woods are playing Joe Biden to take over your gas stoves. That's a conspiracy. There's no basis in fact. But the Russian flag is being wrapped around the Republican Party and getting tighter and tighter around them, and we can see it. We're catching them in it.
Right, and maybe it was a conspiracy theory, but it turned out to be one that was true.
Well, that's the thing about science and theories. Eventually, you prove them or you don't, and if you don't prove them, they're bullshit. And if you prove them, you think about it a little harder.
Right, and the Republicans have constantly accused the Democrats of being in cahoots with Russia. Again, just projection and admission. All right, let me play this next video before we get into some of these idiots. I wanted to show some actual war footage. It's not graphic. I mean, it's war footage. It is what it is.
It could be shocking, if you've never seen it.
Right, it may be a little shocking.
Overtly grotesque.
Right. It's not obscene. It's
not bloody.
Blurred out. But I want people to realize what it would be like in a gunfight. And just imagine you're in that gunfight and people are charging you and throwing grenades at you and you run out of freaking ammunition. Just please, in your heads, picture this and picture if this would happen to you. Okay.
Click, 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 click,
exactly.
click.
Senior Lieutenant Oksandr Yavshanka is about to discover that amidst those bodies is the body of his friend who made the walk just a few moments before him. What happened, he asks. The young, stunned soldiers simply stare at where the shell hit and where the 22-year-old soldier's body lies. But this is only the start. The commander begins to shore the defences, and there's another hit. This is Alexander. He's a doctor who took an oath to preserve life. Now he's fighting for his own and his men's. A Russian soldier runs towards him and throws a grenade. It misses. Russian paratroopers are advancing from the right and left flanks. Of the 8 Ukrainians, only 4 have seen battle before.
See what I mean? Like, just imagine being in that position. You got people on the right, you got people on the front throwing grenades at you, you got people on your left, and then having to worry about how many bullets do I have left. That shit would be so.
This is going to be a weird,
horrifying.
This is going to be a weird parable that I'm about to go down, but I don't know. It's on my mind, and I want to do it. Played a lot of video games my whole life. I'm the age where video games were everything, right? Yep. I remember when games like Call of Duty came out and Modern Warfare, and especially the World War II ones, played a lot of them. But the point is, there's a whole generation of people that grew up with that version of war. Okay, we're not talking about the first generations like World War II and Vietnam to see war and see the result of it in the media, right? Vietnam was the first televised war. People saw what it looked like, and it horrified them. Now we have video games, and it's almost like you could expect maybe kids and adults to almost be desensitized to fictionalized violence. But when you see that footage, and this is why I'm bringing it up, that footage reminds me exactly of a million times my best friends and I were playing video games where we were trying to hold down a fort and the enemy was advancing. The enemy was either the computer or other people playing a game. We were trying to have fun and be in an objective in a setting that is inherently horrific and terrifying. And when I saw that footage that you showed me before the show, I guess that's what got this going in my brain, is that's horrifying. That didn't look to me like, oh, wow, I'm just playing a video game. When you sit there, and if you're capable of really having empathy and realizing those people are in a situation that you may have had fun in, but that's their life. That guy just went in there to see a dead body that was his friend, and now they have people coming at them, and they have to shoot them, or they're going to die. Hopefully that grenade missed. That's insanity. So I'm hoping people of the video game generation, which happen to be our generation and younger, there's a lot of voters in there, and there's a lot of people that are trying to consider if they should vote and who they should vote for. And when you look at that video, realize who is trying to make that normalcy, who is trying to say that that is an acceptable way for the world to be. That is a Republican Party. That is maybe in Israel, if you start looking what's really going on there. That's a Russia in Ukraine. That's what the U.S. does when we bomb other countries in Africa. This, when you see that footage and it's so freaking close to what a video game looks like, that should terrify you. That should terrify you because that's real. One shot, you don't regenerate, you're dead.
Right. You don't get you don't put plates in and go back.
Yeah, like you don't upgrade your armor when you respawn. Come on.
Yeah, there is no parachuting back.
I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense, but to me,
no, it does, because I think
that is so real and terrifying.
I mean, I think we've been desensitized, maybe because of the games and the movies and stuff like that. But you absolutely have a point. But just so everybody knows, because even though our GOP is absolutely fucking useless and not doing a goddamn thing, some people are stepping up. As a matter of fact, Warren Buffett's son Howard has given $500 million to Ukraine. And he warns the U.S. is making a historic mistake by pulling its support. There are very few people in the world that could step up and do what Zelensky has done. I think he's a pretty amazing guy, he says.
He is a pretty amazing guy.
So he's given a full-scale invasion, injecting $521,779,225 in humanitarian assistance. And I wish more people that were rich like that would step up. I mean, $500 million to Warren Buffett ain't shit. Yeah. Elon Musk could probably single-handedly help fund the war in Ukraine, but I think he's rooting for the other side.
Of course he is.
Probably shouldn't say that because we do broadcasts on Twitter, but you know what? Get fucked. I don't care. It's true. I'm sorry, it's true. Ever since he turned off those freaking satellites that were over Ukraine, Ukrainians died as a result. I'm sorry.
You know what's amazing to me is you see Warren Buffett's son giving $500 million to Ukraine. Why is it okay for that, which I agree with, but then that's fine. But you have Republicans that would decry that. You know, how could that happen? That's not okay. But then you have mega donors giving hundreds of millions to, I don't know, stop abortion or stop IVF or stop women from having these rights or that rights. You look at the amount of money that's injected into especially American politics to not just pad the wallets and make better the lives of rich people, but to destroy the lives of Americans based on some ideology. 500 million to Ukraine is pennies compared to how many billions are injected into the elections to make sure that Republicans win, to make sure that rights are taken away. They're fighting over there for their country. We're fighting over here for women to have basic rights, but we're not that far off from having that be our reality. The wrong person in charge.
We are kind of lucky geographically, and we're actually really lucky that we're next to the safest country in the world, Canada. You know what I mean? So we do have a little bit of advantage. We're not next to a country that's considered an aggressor. I couldn't even imagine. Can you imagine living on the border of Russia, being Ukrainian, just living on the border, going, God damn, it's today the day. It's today the day. These guys are gonna roll through my home with tanks. I'm like, come on, man. Some people, you got to just be human, for crying out loud. Just be human. These are people that are dying. People. And not just the people that are fighting and shooting the guns. There are civilians involved here. There are innocent people that are dying because they can't get water, they can't get food, and their goddamn houses are being bombed.
Well, this is the other thing.
People would just be a little bit more sensitive to the situation.
You have plenty of Republicans saying, why are we spending money on Ukraine when we could spend it here in America? Okay, but then if we went to say we want to pay for clean water and food for kids in school, you'd be like, well, that's socialism. We can't have that. They just don't want to spend money because they want all that money to somehow funnel up to them. That's it.
Perfect way to get into the next topic, the GOP, Comer Pyle. I'm sorry. And I did get them confused last week with Senator Lindsey Graham, but you know what, damn it, I put two pictures next to each other of James Comer and Lindsey Graham. They look like cousins. They could be related. So anyway, their entire impeachment inquiry was based on bullshit information from Russia. It has now been confirmed. The guy they used the guy was arrested who gave them the information. And he told the FBI that he got his information from Russian intelligence. And James Comer and Jim Jordan took this guy and just ran with it. Even when the FBI was like, we have not verified this information. They didn't care. Fox News, Sean Hannity alone mentioned this shit over 80 times on his show last year. And it's all lies. Let me play this video of James Comer real quick. I got his name right, finally.
At the end of the day, with respect to the FBI informant that Christopher Wray told Jamie Raskin, me, Charles Grassley, Jim Jordan, was one of their most trusted, highest paid informants with the Bureau for over a decade. You know, at the end of the day, he wasn't an important part of this investigation because I didn't even know who he was. All I knew was there was a 1023 that alleged bribery. My investigation's about all the money the Bidens have taken from China, from Romania, from Kazakhstan,
for nothing in return. For nothing.
This guy had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Haven't taken any money.
We investigated. We couldn't figure out who it was.
Sharon.
I mean, now they're pretending. That 1023 form, they've talked about that for the last, year? Nonstop. Or actually, since Biden got elected, basically, they've been trying to do this.
It's pretty important to listen to what these people think is ammunition against Biden. So they're specifically talking about money that Biden got. There's no proof that Biden got any of this money. Literally no proof. That has nothing to do with the Russian agent that has now been found to be a Russian agent. That there's just no proof that Biden took any money. Now, you know what there is proof of? And you can go look at this, why this isn't a conspiracy, it's actual truth. You could look and see how much money Donald Trump made when he was president. Okay, it's in the tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions. I don't remember the number, but it's absurd. And guess what? 99% of it came from the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and China.
Yep.
Okay, so all the places that they're blaming Biden for taking money from, which he didn't, Donald Trump and Jared Kushner took money in the billions.
I was going to say.
Okay, and yet the Republicans oh no, what are you talking about? I don't even understand. What? No, we never heard of that.
If we do our jobs well and get enough people to vote this year and be on the record, this is a historic election. I mean, this is literally could be the end of freedom in America. It could be the end of democracy altogether. If we were able to get a Democratic president, Democratic House, Democratic Senate, then we can start properly investigating these people.
Hopefully.
Because right now the GOP keeps throwing up roadblocks on all these investigations. What was the one? Matt Gaetz. They were investigating him. Then they threw up roadblocks for that one. I
guess that was so bad they had no choice to bring that one back.
Right. They're like, yeah, damn. All right. this is worse than freaking, what's his name? Santos. All right. So here's Jim Jordan saying that, it doesn't really change the facts that our informant was lying.
He's such a greasy shit.
What is this? How does this make sense in on Earth 1? Maybe on Earth 2, where these guys live, it makes sense. But in reality, what the
President's involvement in a bribery scheme now that Alexander Smirnov is proven to have made it up and it was based off Russian intelligence.
Doesn't change the four fundamental facts. Hunter Biden was put on the board of Burisma.
Actually, it changes all the facts.
Fact number 2, he's not qualified to be on the board. He said so himself in an interview. I don't know with you or
now there's Jared Kushner.
Fact number 3, Zolochevsky and Pizarski, the 2 executives at Burisma, specifically asked Hunter Biden, can you weigh in with D.C. and help us deal with the pressure we are facing from the prosecutor? Fact number 4, Joe Biden, then he gets called. Hunter Biden calls his dad, according to Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's business partner. Fact number 4,
no
Joe
way,
Biden
called his
then
dad?
goes to Ukraine 3 days later and conditions the release of the money, American tax money, on the firing of the prosecutor who was applying the pressure to the company that Hunter Biden sat on the board of.
You said the 1023 is the most corroborating piece of information you have.
It corroborates, but it doesn't change those fundamental facts. So now
it's not true.
Well, so it's the
yeah. The only problem is the only problem is none of it's true. The bribery, all that stuff came from that source. It came from this one guy, this Alexander Smirnov.
In layman's terms, I guess.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Jim Jordan already speaks layman, but he speaks idiot, really. So in layman's terms,
yeah, he speaks moron.
There was a claim made by Party A.
Correct.
We're going to build a case now and gather what we think or pretend is other evidence called B, C, and D. But it's all predicated on A being factual. Yeah. We now know that A is not factual. So you take A out of it, and that means necessarily, by basic simple logic and how the law works, put into question any other evidence, B, C, and D, that might only have been in existence or make any sense if A is true. Now that A is gone, there's no case. And Jim Jordan, who is famously known for defying congressional subpoenas and for allowing the rape of students under his care, well, now that there's no case, he's like, I mean, yeah, but we still have a case. No, you don't have a case. You don't
people
have
that
anything.
still think that the election was stolen. These are the same people that still go around saying there was election fraud, even though I think there's been like 70 cases now. It's like, no, this is stupid. Stop talking about it. So this is what we're dealing with, and we got to deal with this until November, and hopefully people wise up, because they're a joke. They're a joke. They're useless. They've done nothing but investigate people and waste taxpayer money on top of their tax-funded salaries. and benefits. They use taxpayer money to do all these These investigations aren't free.
Here's a
you know what I mean? Like, they cost money.
Even though this example has nothing to do with Russia, it's an example of what you're saying is that the GOP has done nothing since they've taken the Congress. And one example is a Lauren Boebert, who recently is carpetbagging and switched her district to try and get votes. And everyone in this new district is saying she's garbage. We don't like her. But several people interviewed have said specifically, we don't like her because she has done nothing for anyone. She did nothing in her old district. She's just coming here to try and get a job and stay in Congress. So the point is, they have done nothing except try and vilify people that would help break down the barriers to the next Trump presidency. That's all they've been trying to do. And when you look at this was never an attack on Hunter Biden. Okay, this was an attempt to get to Joe Biden through what they thought was a weak, leaky, squeaky wheel in Hunter Biden. And now they're finding out that their basic case that would have potentially, even though it never would have, linked them to Joe Biden was a plot by a Russian.
Yeah. Now the question is, for me, did you know Comer and Jordan? Did you know he was lying? Did you know he was a Russian agent? And if you did, at what point did you know? I want to know these things, man, because at some point they found out and we're like, oh, well, it's too late. We're deep in this one. We're just going to keep lying. Because that's what these liars do. They just, even when they get caught, like I just showed you on the videos, even when they get caught, they continue the lie. They will not admit they were wrong. It's unbelievably frustrating.
Keep in mind, all of these politicians that are currently doing nothing for the American people and only clearly working for Donald Trump.
That's why we call them the government of Putin.
On the pardon list.
Yup. They are. You're right. Absolutely. I mean, these people are asking for pardons before they even commit. You know what I mean? It's like when you
ask for a pardon, and now I forget
before you're actually accused of something.
If you ask for a pardon on January 5th, and when January 6th comes and there's an insurrection, that all those pardons look very suspicious when they all came from the same political party and everyone who voted to decertify an election.
I know, right? It's a little obvious, you guys. All right, so next we're gonna get into some Trump now. Now, Trump is the town hall is bonkers.
We've entered the racism phase of today's show.
And just yell at your TV. I suggest watching it with Laura Ingraham, and she can't even save him. She's like the most Trumpiest of Trump, maybe except for like Sean Hannity, reporters or whatever you want to call her. It's not news. It's just this is like the Fox News is like the National Enquirer of news.
She's a presenter,
you know what I mean? Right? And she can't even keep Trump on the rails. Like
he's at the point where like he now strings together. Let's say time frames of words where not one single series of 3 words make sense with each other in any way. He's just babbling nonsense. That is, he called Melania Mercedes the other day. Like he's losing his freaking mind.
Accidentally endorsed Biden the other day. Did you see that video? This is crazy. I could not believe it.
So watch this. Keep in mind how insane he is, and watch Laura Ingraham, because she is pleading with the producers.
What do I do? You're looking like, help me, dear God, help me. All right, but first, before that, I want to play the clip of the BCF conference, the Black Conservative Federation conference, or whatever
this is
you want
not
to call it. No, and I wish I would have. I don't have the video of the audience. It's mostly white people in the audience. But I can't believe a presidential candidate would say this.
And it gets worse. It's one of those videos where he says something, you're like, holy shit, no, keep waiting.
And I cut some fun stuff in there too, because I believe this would be the appropriate reaction. Like I've seen people get punched in the face for saying less than what Donald Trump said. Now I'm not gonna lie, for real, I've seen people get hurt for saying dumb shit like this. Not even as offensive as this. So let me go ahead and play this real quick. This is crazy.
And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against.
Mike, get back. Play it.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones. You see?
Oh, no. I do want to do it. I guarantee I want to do it. Think about your mama, man.
I'm being indicted for you, the black population. I am being indicted for a lot of different groups.
Crazy shit that Trump said.
Think about my mama. Think about your ass. Think about what your mama say. You all right? Yeah, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? I got a little razzle dazzle. It's all right.
Got a little razzle dazzle. I'm all right. I'm sorry. I just love cutting in movies. People told me all my life that watching all these movies was pointless. Well, I just proved you wrong. I can actually find a use for all this knowledge I have in my head of movies.
I never would have put that the Friday series would have fit so perfectly well with mocking Donald Trump.
It does,
the series
right?
that I have loved my whole life.
I know.
Thanks to you, has taken on a whole new meaning. Because
well, you're welcome. You're
Jesus,
welcome. I appreciate the compliment. And you know what's funny? I meant to send this video to Cat Williams. And I accidentally sent him to somebody else's dog video by accident. I don't even know how I did that.
So now
shit.
you're like, ah, shit.
And I put underneath it, I'm like, I hope you enjoy this. And I just sent him a random, without his random guy online, just sent some dog video from somebody else's account.
This is a nice
I
video.
don't know. Cannabis may have been involved at the time I sent it.
Oh,
I don't know what happened, but if Cat Williams ever sees this video, please, I hope you like that little clip I
So
made.
the whole point is, I'm going to be honest here. That video the other day, that video sent me on a weird spiral because I cannot believe
I was
that type of racism is just like, that isn't just immediately disqualifying. He should be like removed from the history books as a former president going up to speak at a conference, whatever it is, no matter where it is. You can't even say that shit at the KKK meeting. Okay.
Right.
Like
It's
that's
so bad.
It's so bright in here. I could only see the black people.
That's what he said.
That is
And he's
essentially, I could see you in the dark when you smile. That's what he just
That's what he's
said.
saying. And like he calls all black people criminals. Like black people like me because
And
of the
let's face
91
it,
charges. Like you all right, so you think because you saw sneakers and because you got some street cred from all your indictments, that now black people like you. You realize how fucking insulting that is? That
He
is
was
like
probably
the
like-
height of bigotry and ignorance, man.
He was probably like black people like Martha Stewart now because she hangs out with Snoop because she went to jail. So I'm going to say the same thing.
You know what I'm? But that's that ignorance, the level of ignorance, and like the fact
And
that
he
he was
was
comfortable
proud of it.
saying it out loud
He
in
was proud of it.
supposedly a black conservative conference.
Yeah.
That shit. I can't believe he didn't get a shoe thrown at him.
I would
at
like
least
to
something.
see what the Black Conservative Conference thinks about the Central Park Five, or the Exonerated Five, as they should be called, when Donald Trump took out full-page ads calling for their frickin' execution. And guess what?
Exactly,
They
man.
didn't do it.
This is pandering. Okay, and you should be enraged. Like I'm not. Obviously, I'm not black. You know what I mean? But I'm even still pissed about this because obviously Mike and I have taken a stance, and racism to us is just
Non-starter.
a weak-minded, ignorant fool. And
I
he
can't-
is one.
The only thing I could say is I will never understand racism, meaning in the sense that I will never feel the fear and the hate on my skin.
No.
But I can feel my skin crawl from such ignorant hate that offends me. We have to be a point. We have to get our country to a point. And I think there's a lot more people like this than we think.
There is.
We can't just be, racism is bad, but only have black people feel it. We have to feel that racism is a concept, is so repugnant and despicable that we all have to be offended by racism. We have to be offended by bigotry. You might not be gay, but if you see gay hatred on gay people, you should be disgusted by it. If you see hatred on people based solely on their religion, okay, I hate on religion all the time, but I don't hate on the people that happen to be the nice ones of their religion. I hate on the bigots and the assholes.
Thank you.
So we have to get to a point, and again, I think our elections are starting to show that maybe we're there, and especially the younger generations are taking offense to these despicable, ancient bullshit opinions and beliefs. We're not allowing it to get away anymore. And Donald Trump having no repercussions for that, speaks so loudly about his base and the Republican politicians in office right now. A Lindsey Graham, Gomer Pyle, a Mitch McConnell, who are all racist, by the way. Mitch McConnell is getting awards with the the Confederate flag behind him. If they haven't come out and fundamentally denounced it, but you know what they have come out against, which is ironic, the IVF ruling in Alabama. Why? Because rich Republicans who can't get pregnant can afford IVF. So
they interviewed
that's why they're
Tommy
not coming out
Tuberville,
against that.
and he has no idea what freaking IVF even is.
But my point is that I'm not trying to
he's so dumb.
My point is that we as a country, as a people, as a democratic society, or one that wishes to be more democratic, we have to take stands that what Donald Trump said in front of a group of black people is incomprehensibly ignorant and should be the ultimate disqualifier. Just, you're done. You can't even utter those words. You're a freaking monster.
And with this history of racism, I mean, it's just, but he's the leader of the GOP. He is the one that they answer to. Trump runs the GOP. Just get that straight, okay? The GOP doesn't answer to Biden or the people of the United States. They don't give a shit about us. All they care about is serving their master, their Fuhrer, Donald J. Trump, who serves
dictator
Vladimir Putin, his Fuhrer, his idol. People need to get it through their heads that that's how it is in the United States right now. And until we get these people out of here, until we get Russian influence out of our politics, it's not going to get any better. But all right, so next video gets into the town hall with Laura Ingraham. So this is the one, him talking about the judgment. I like how he says the judge can say I have to pay it, but I don't have to. He can't take my money. Oh yeah, they can.
Yeah, question, which I thought about a lot last night because it's such a huge amount of money. You have to decide whether you're going to put up that bond. An escrow to appeal. Are you going to do that? And where are you going to get the money?
I'll tell you what we're going to do. Number one, well, I have a lot of cash, but that doesn't mean he can take it. I mean, you know what he did? I think he looked at my cash and he said, well, we'll take all of his cash. This is all coming out of the White House. This is all, everything that you see, whether it's that one or the DA. You know, in the DA's office, in Bragg's office, he has his top people from the DOJ working in the district attorney's office in New York. Nobody knows that. Everything is coming out. This is all election interference. They're trying to damage me so they can.
Blah, blah, freaking blah. It's all coming out of Biden. My rape case was Biden.
Well, guess what?
God, dude.
In 30 days, when Letitia James starts taking his properties because he's done nothing, and guess what?
Judgment entered, baby.
30 days. He has 30 days to either pay his judgment or put that amount plus interest in escrow so that they can appeal. He has to come up with that money, which is now significantly more than the original judgment and will be at the end of the 30 days. He has there is no games. He either gives it to who he owes it to, or he puts it in escrow, and then it'll eventually go to her anyway. That's it. As of the end of 30 days.
And you see how Laura Ingraham tries to, she's all like, oh, so this is all coming from Biden. She's like trying to help him, but it's a nightmare.
Could you talk more about that?
I know. Let's talk more about faucets that don't have water come out. It's just complete stupidity. Who believes this stuff? Who believes oh my God, they're going to take my shower. They're going to take my stove and my dishwasher away from me. Who believes this in the United States? If you're watching the show, I guarantee you nobody's coming for your shit. Okay. It's your stuff. You can keep it. It's
the only people who should be coming for you are the people in vans with straitjackets.
I know, right? Some of these people need to be locked up. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene. If you read her Wikipedia page, it's like a resume for an asylum application.
Like someone should, someone should look and make sure she's not an escaped idiot.
I think she is. I think she is. She changed identities. All right. Next one is Trump talks about migrants. Classic.
How do you plan to deport the millions of people? I mean, there's probably 12, 13 million people under Biden alone that have come here. And how will it work?
It's going to work that we get the bad ones out first. They're coming in from prisons. They're coming in from jails and mental institutions.
How will you find them?
We're going to find them through local police. Look, the local police, they're so phenomenal. I love them. They love me. I think I have 97% support. They know everything. They know the first names. They know everything. And it's a new category. I don't know if you've heard this, but came up with this one, migrant crime. There's crime, there's violent crime, there's migrant crime. We have a new category of crime. It's called migrant crime.
It's so stupid. He made up a new term. First caravan. Migrant caravan. He made that, but now it's migrant crime.
Well,
He makes up all kinds of
caravans
words.
bring migrant criminals, I guess.
And they're all from insane asylums. And you know what I don't hear about a lot? Migrant crime. Because guess what? If they get most of these people, like obviously there's circumstances like the New York incident that happens. It just happened. And they were
crime happens
apparently. So crime happens. Crime happens a lot. And you know what happens if the illegal immigrants commit crime? They get deported, which is what they don't want to happen. So most of the crime is not committed by migrants. Actually, the least amount of crime is committed by migrants.
Let me read a statement that former President Donald J. Trump said about migrants. We have languages coming into our country. We don't have one instructor in our entire nation that can speak that language. These are languages. It's the craziest thing. They have languages that nobody in this country has ever heard of.
I read that shit too.
So
languages coming into this country that we've never heard of.
Let's try and logic our way through this for funsies.
That nobody's heard of.
If we know that they're coming from insane asylums and mental institutions and prisons, then those entities exist in countries, and the people in those places are likely from those countries. And what's interesting is countries have languages. So we actually know what language is because we can identify when they come here and say, I'm from Venezuela. They speak a language. We know what language people in Venezuela speak. There's no one coming from tribes in the middle of, jungles that no one's ever contacted.
Right, like
there's
at
no
a
one
random
from there
island that nobody's heard
that's
of.
coming across the U.S. border to smuggle fentanyl in or whatever the hell they think is going on.
Yeah.
The racism, because that's what it is. It's not just racism against black people, because true 100% racist white people believe everyone that doesn't have lily white skin is a dirty, despicable animal. That is what they believe. Okay?
You're right.
It is the fundamental basis for which slavery was based on. We can do this because they are not human. Okay? It is the fundamental basis of all racism. My group of people, which happen to be white, are better than every other group of people. And when Donald Trump says we don't even know what language is, that's not even a reasonable sentence to say. That's not a thing.
Right. He also says in this town hall that we have a nuke. He doesn't say because somebody has a nuke. He says we have a nuke. That if it goes off in New York, it'll be felt in South Carolina. He said that. And he didn't say like another country, but I mean, if that's true, then he just disclosed highly classified information on national television. But I don't think it's true. I think it's just him just talking out of his ass like normal. But this is the stuff he says.
I just want to point out one
fear
more thing.
for votes. That's all they offer you. They offer you fear
I'm
in
so
return
glad
for
you
votes.
said that, because that's exactly like what this is. And the whole we don't know what languages they speak coming in. You know what that is, right? That's shitty Karen in a restaurant going, well, I can't understand your broken English. I don't know what you're saying. That's that. That's what that is.
It's blatant racism. You're right. It absolutely is. All right. So the next clip, and I love this clip because this is one of Donald Trump's favorite excuses for taking documents out of the White House. Presidential Records Act. And then we'll break it down right afterwards. Oh boy!
Why didn't you just hand them over when they were requested, though? I mean, they requested them. You could have just handed them over. Probably saved yourself a lot of trouble.
First of all, I didn't have to hand them over. But second of all, I would have done that. We were talking, and then all of a sudden they raided Mar-a-Lago. Do you remember? They said, could you put an extra lock on the door? We showed them where they were. We showed them. Unlike being under a Corvette in a little garage with the door open all the time, we had these things locked. We were surrounded all the time by many Secret Service agents. We had Secret Service all over Mar-a-Lago. You couldn't take anything out. But what happened, and when you take a look, Biden didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He's at great jeopardy, really. But
Should Biden have been charged in the classified documents case?
Well, nobody else has been over the years because, Hillary took a lot and Bill took a lot. Bill took them out in his socks. They call it the socks case, which he won. with a very tough judge, which he won. Bush took him, everybody, Reagan took him out, everybody took him out. It only became a big subject when I took things out. The difference is I had what's called the Presidential Records Act. I was allowed to do what I did, absolutely allowed. That's why they passed the act in 1978. They passed the Presidential Records Act. But you can only use it or be there if you're president.
I just want to point out the Presidential Records Act literally says that the president cannot take anything. It all has to go to the National Archive, and then the president can request documents.
Everything.
That's
everything he received, not just papers. Like
no, everything. Personal letters.
Everything. It's all presidential. Yeah. And it explicitly says in the president, I can't believe he uses this as a defense because Google is an amazing tool. You can spend 5 seconds on Google to find out this is false. It explicitly says after you leave office, you no longer have any ownership of anything that you had when you were in office. It goes to
and
the
why?
government.
Why? Because of the fundamental thing that Donald Trump and Republicans can't understand. The office of president is not your office. It is the people's office.
Right.
Your job, your time, your service, everything you do as president is supposed to be in service of the people of this country, not your ego, not your collection, not your FAP material from Kim Jong-un where he calls you a lovely man. None of that.
Right.
That belongs to the American people. So we have a record of what happens in this country for the future. That's it. That's the Presidential Records Act.
Yeah, the Clinton-Sox Act, and they enacted they came up with the Presidential Records Act because of freaking Nixon to prevent it from happening again. Why would you use this as a defense?
But well, we know what Donald Trump and his best friends think about Nixon. Some of them get tattoos of Nixon on their back. These are people that think the criminal is the good guy.
Right. Well, this guy gets legal information as well from a guy named Tom Fitton who runs a website called Judicial Watch. The only problem is Tom Fitton's not a freaking lawyer at all. Never been to law school.
So
the Sox case he refers to with George Clinton. Bill Clinton. I don't know why. Whoops. I don't know how I made that connection. With Bill Clinton didn't win the case. The case never went to trial. The judge was like, this is stupid. And it was his personal information that he was approved to take with him. I mean, it wasn't like he stole the shit. And it was like a memoir type of thing. He used it to write a book.
Yeah.
That was what it was. That was personal notes, personal documents that
he
wrote himself. Right. It wasn't national secrets. It wasn't sensitive daily briefings with classified information on it. No, it's not the same thing. And the reason Biden wasn't charged, and he can't, I hate how Trump thinks that he would have the right to negotiate with the National Archives. What? No, there's no negotiation.
You do what they tell you. That's it.
It's not yours. Right. He's so used to owning everything. Everything's mine. Like, that's all Trump cares about. Mine. Everything is mine. So everything he acquired throughout his time in the White House, he thought is his. He doesn't have to follow the law. Like, these people claim to be the party of law and order when their head guy is like one of the biggest criminals, allegedly. Well, no, now some of it's been proven fraud. So one of the biggest criminals the United States has ever seen.
He's a rapist.
He's the leading candidate. Right. And he's been adjudicated for rape. So, yeah. What does this country come to? It's like a dystopian reality. Like we woke up and entered this alternate reality where nothing makes sense anymore. All right. So anyway, we got a couple minutes left. I do want to show this video I made of Carrie Lake talking about how Trump is the bestest alpha male in the world. Just watch this shit, man. She is so desperate, man. It's so funny.
I like a strong man. We got way too many weaklings out there.
She's almost here. 3 years lady. How about that? No one will be touching the cross of Christ. There shouldn't be voter ID. Now you have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread. Dampen our forests with water that costs us nothing, that will come pouring down from the north. Wouldn't that be nice? If you had dampened floors, you wouldn't have forest fires.
Let me hear from the ladies out there. We're tired of the beta men. We want some alpha men.
No, we're going to take over Washington, D.C. We're going to federalize. We're going to have very powerful crime, and you're going to be proud of it again.
And we got a #1 alpha man in Donald J. Trump.
If you have mail-in voting, you automatically have fraud. If you have
well, there's mail-in voting in Florida, and you won huge.
That's right.
Whoops. All right, my favorite Donald Trump quote forever will be, "If we had dampened floors, we wouldn't have forest fires."
He had
I'm sorry, it's like the dumbest statement I've ever heard.
That's
man.
one of those beautiful things that really shows you his mental capacity. Donald Trump is not an intelligent. Let me rephrase it this way. Maybe he could have been intelligent. I don't know, but he is not someone who has any understand on how to use logic or reason. When you say if we had damp floors, we won't have forest fires, that's what a toddler says. And you know what we do when a toddler says that? We go, "Oh, that's a good job. That's really right." And
I know,
we scurry them away because they
president,
might be too young to explain the cycle of how forest fires work to help refresh this, all that stuff. What we do is we go, "You know what? That's actually clever for a toddler. You're right. You put two concepts, wet and fire, together. You did it.
Right.
Yay."
Right.
And Donald Trump's like, his political platform to be president is, if we had wet forest floors, there'd be no fires.
I don't know that when a 77-year-old says that it's not cute, it's time to be put into a home.
Yes.
It's time to check grandpa into the new place over
The wood
there.
chipper.
Get him a room. All right. Sorry. All right. So that's enough about Trump because I just like talking about him. It's so fun. You don't even have to make stuff up about this guy.
No, we're at the
He
point
just
where
gives
there's
you
no
all the
stretch.
material you ever need to write.
In 24-hour periods, you could have enough material to do a half-an-hour show on the things Trump said that day.
Every time he does a speech, there's at least a dozen clips I can get off of Twitter of the stuff that he says, and it's all bonkers. Like I made an AI clip playing around with that AI app that I was talking about, and it was fun just to play around with it and make Trump say, like, because it actually you type what words in you want.
Oh, that's
it actually makes a video of them saying what you type. So I did this video about how Trump was like, what do I smell like? I smell like a winner and cheese. And then it was like, but not just any cheese, that fancy foreign cheese that has mold on it. And it's the funniest shit. I was just making myself laugh.
The problem is
it's on Instagram.
That's what you would have someone say if you want to make them sound like an idiot. The stuff he says is so inherently stupid. Like you can't make it up. You cannot make this because he mixes the seriousness of real life with the comprehension of a child who got hit in the head by a donkey. Like there's nothing coming out of him. You couldn't invent the stupid that he is.
Right, and people adore him. They idolize him. I mean, they've elevated him to idol
because he tells it like it is.
Yep, and he's a religious man. He's a good man, and he doesn't break the law.
God.
These people are always like, "Well, he's innocent until proven guilty." Well, he's been proven guilty that he raped somebody, and he's also been proven guilty to be a complete and utter fraud. Now, what's your excuse?
Well, but those weren't, those were political hit job.
Those are Biden. Biden was doing that. That's not Biden. You're killing us. Anyway. Enough about Trump. I want to end everything on a positive note. Joe Biden still canceling student loan debt. So let me just play the short clip and we'll just close it out with this.
President Biden announced this morning his administration is canceling another $1.2 billion in student loans. This latest round of loan forgiveness affects more than 150,000 borrowers who have small loans and have already made payments for 10 years. So far, the Biden administration has approved nearly $140 billion in student debt relief for about 4 million people. The current student loan forgiveness plan was crafted after the Supreme Court struck down the president's original measure.
Now, he had to do this himself through executive orders, I believe, right? He didn't really, because, Congress doesn't just help people like this. The GOP in Congress, they hate helping people. They won't even feed kids and lunch and free school lunches. I can't believe we can't in America. It's supposed to be the greatest country on earth, but our kids can't get free school lunch. For real? We can't feed kids?
We'll teach them that they could just get food?
Right, but now these people are going to have additional income like we talked about earlier. Like I've seen people come out of college and get $17, $18, $19, $20 an hour jobs around here. You know what I mean? I don't live in I live in a small city. I know it's different in bigger cities, but wages, but in bigger cities, then your cost of living's through the roof. So you have to make more money.
It shows you exactly the priorities of the Republicans. They don't want a workforce. They truly want economic slavery. And at best, they want real slavery, because if you're going to in any way pretend that capitalism works for everyone, you would do trickle down. You would give people a little bit, but they give us nothing.
Nothing.
Our taxes don't go to help us. We have a healthcare system that is based on having jobs. Our jobs can be taken from us at will, and no one has any money. Everything costs too much, and it's all because rich people don't want to give a penny to anyone.
Yeah, we talked about it on a previous show. A lot of the prices are driven by corporate greed, not inflation. You know, so the rich get richer while the poor get shit on. That's the American way right now.
So yeah, they don't want to give people money because the myth, right? It's not a myth really, but if you give people money, they'll put it into the economy. But when your economy is based off the rich people stealing it, eventually all that money is going to dry up anyway. But at least if you get people out of the burden of student debt, which was always overinflated, which was always used as good debt. That's a good way to start your life, is if you have a huge student loan debt, and then you can't get a loan because you have student loan debt. So if you look at who is really benefiting from the loan debt, it's not the people who have it. It's the people who own the debt. Who
And not
want that
even
money.
just, you know, and some people are fortunate, you know, they have legacy admissions, they get in, they have scholarships and stuff like that. I mean, rich families and stuff like that. But I mean, like we said before, I think education should be available universally. If you want to learn more, you should have the opportunity, regardless of how much money you have. You shouldn't have to go into $100,000 in debt to become a doctor. You know what I'm saying? You want to go to school to help people. You shouldn't have to.
Exactly. If a society is to exist out of barbaric old ways,
we have to start
to provide education for its population and healthcare. It has to make sure that people are healthy, fed, and educated. Because guess what? Those are the jobs that over time will be replaced by robots. No one's going to be making your hamburger in 50 years. I'm sorry.
I know, right? It's going to be automated.
So we need to get people the opportunity to get better jobs and future jobs. You know how many people, you could never have enough people learning how to code. There will never be a lack of jobs for people who know how to code. Why are we not teaching our kids to code? We're not teaching them anything other than to pass garbage tests that don't do anything.
I mean, even when you and me went to school, though, you really don't learn anything about life after high school. I didn't know shit
Did they
about real
did they
life
teach you how
out
to
of high
balance a
school.
checkbook? Not that you need to know how to balance a checkbook much anymore, but they didn't teach that to us when we were in school. Do you think they're teaching kids how to manage their money now? No.
Dude, we didn't learn about investments in the economy and like
right.
I mean,
If you're
maybe
gonna-
in like some certain
If
classes.
you're going to have
we
an
do a little bit,
economy
but
where
damn.
you're saying you have to learn to invest, but then you don't teach anyone to invest, whatever.
Like,
That's another show for another day.
Yeah, we gotta think differently. We gotta think outside the box. So we gotta get rid of the government of Putin first.
But to
That
bring
is
it back,
the
what that's showing
step
you
one.
is a Joe Biden presidency and a Democratic Party realizes that at the very least, we have to get people out of debt and spending money in the economy.
Exactly.
Tell me what's wrong with that.
Nothing, not at all. I love it. Actually, I love it. I hope it continues. If we can sway enough people to vote in the right direction, and if the current members of the House don't try and block the votes, which I'm scared of as well.
It's gonna
'cause
be
that could
ugly.
happen. Thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. On Tuesday, day after tomorrow, we will be having Tennessee Brando from the Midas Touch Network on the show, having fun with us, talking about current topics. I forget what the topics are off the top of my head, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I can't wait to get his input on all the things that are going on. Plus, there's a lot going on in Tennessee as well, so which is where he's from, obviously.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if his name was Tennessee Brando and he's from like Oregon. Just get all right, never mind. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Again, Mike and I appreciate all your support. This has been a fun journey. We hope to continue the ride. Yeah, so all we need is a little bit of support from you. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives. Third, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. Fourth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives representatives. Fifth, we will move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp.